That's difficult. I don't know what the hubbub's all about. Welcome back. My name's Jason Quid, and today we're going to change up the style of painting that we do. So recently I had a friend ask me if I could help her do some rainbow lips, and I said, absolutely. Easy painting. Easy to teach. So that is what we're going to do today. But first, we have to grab all the equipment. So let's go. All right, rainbow lips, that is what we're doing today. No sense in wasting any time, so I'll see you over there. Welcome back. And as always, thank you for deciding to spend a few minutes of your day with me. It's always much appreciated. So I don't really want to waste any of that time, so we're going to jump right in. So like we discussed, we're going to do something a bit fun, a bit whimsical, a bit different here. We're going to do, again, like most of these paintings, just like acrylics, right? We're going to start with our background, work our way forward. So that's what we're going to start with today. We're going to start right in the middle. Now, with rainbow, you got to sort of build what's called a gradient, okay? It's a transition of colors that happens smoothly. So we can't just go from the middle up and the middle down. We got to kind of bounce around a little bit. All right, so that's what we're going to start with. Okay, so to begin with, we're going to grab our big brush, and we're going to start with just a very little bit of yellow. All right, we don't need a ton of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to start right in the middle. All right, just put a big bar of yellow right in the middle. Just kind of wipe it in there, right? We want to bring it up, I would say, about a quarter of the way. You want to leave a quarter of the canvas here, quarter of the canvas here. Not too much, right? You see that? Let's get a nice even coat of yellow. Don't be shy with it. Oh, that's already looking pretty. You can already see where we're going with this, right? And get a nice smooth even coat, like I said, right? We don't want really giant clumps of yellow anywhere in here. All right. So let's work with the, let's start at the top. What do you think? We'll start at the top? All right, perfect. So let's do red here at the top. We're not going to follow the exact rainbow, if you will. All right, we want to start right above the yellow, kind of like here. Right, you're going to notice that's going to be a nice bright red as you do that. That's what we're using, bright red. All right, now as I start to pull that down into the yellow, you're going to notice as I press very lightly, it's going to become a little bit more orange, right? See that? A little bit more orange down here. That's what we want. We want that smooth gradient like I spoke about, right? Now, the lighter you press, the smoother that will become and the less brush strokes you'll get as you push this paint through, all right? We don't want a ton of paint up here. We do want it to be just a bit brighter, right at the top of that, all right? See that, how much nice and brighter that is? Like that. All right, now remember, press very light. See how lightly I'm pressing? Very light. Just the edge of the brush. Just the edge. All right, and I'm pulling it back and forth. All right, now with this, we want to smooth out that transition a little bit. So we want to make sure that we kind of come at it with a nice, clean, dry brush. It was very breathy of me. Did you hear that? That was weird. Anyway. All right, so I want to get as much of that water off as possible. And just some regular paper towels, nothing crazy. All right, there's no real trouble here. All right, so now I've got a nice, clean, dry brush, and I just want to smooth out the transition. All right, we want a nice, smooth transition. Pulling those colors, right? See that? Whoa, that's so nice. Right? Now, there's also a little effect that you could do. Like if it's, maybe you say, I want it to be a little bit lighter, or maybe I want it to pull it down. But if you want that yellow to go a little bit farther, it's fairly super easy. Just grab a little bit more yellow. All right, and just pull that yellow in. Right, it'll help soften that up a little bit more, right? See that? Get that nice smooth transition. Okay. All right, we'll start sort of at the top and work our way back toward the red. Again, we're going to clean off our brush. You know, a lot of this painting is going to be just kind of going back and forth with cleaning off the brush and not cleaning off the brush. Now remember, when you are cleaning off that brush, you want to really dig it into the bottom of the cup. Don't Don't skim it on the top of the water. I've seen people do that sometimes. Don't do that. We don't want to skim it on the top of the water. Get it in there. Get all that paint out. Okay, so here at the top, let's keep our blues down here and our reds up here. So if we're going to keep our reds up at the top, we want to make sort of a purple color. But to start that purple, we got to grab just a little bit of blue right at the top. All right, we need almost like this bar of blue down up here, up here. All right, so just this little bar of blue. All right, just right at the edge. We don't want to bring it into the red just yet. See that? I'm not barely even pressing, just sort of playing around with that top color. See that? All right, now, while you still got that on there, we don't need to clean off the brush for this. We're gonna grab just a little bit of blue. All right, see that? A little bit of blue. Barely any. Sorry, red. Did I say blue? Red. Anyway, right? We're gonna grab that little bit of red. As soon as we start applying that red, you're gonna notice that turn into a nice purple, right? See that up at the top? Ooh, that's pretty nice. A little bit more red. We're gonna go right on top of that blue. Right on top of that blue. Pulling it back and forth. Oh man, that's pretty. So today, the blue that we're using an ultramarine blue today. Part of the reason we're using an ultramarine blue is it's not necessarily a true blue. What an ultramarine blue is, it's a bit of a warmer blue because it has a hint or a hue of red in there. And that's why it's so perfect for that purple color. Right? See that? Oh man, look how pretty that is. Look at that transition. What? Sorry. All right, clean off the brush again, and we're going to start here at the bottom. Now, a lot of times with this, you know what I've realized? I say a lot of times. Anyway. Okay, so with a painting like this, where I choose to create a gradient, what'll happen pretty often for me is as I'm working through the top, this portion here will start to dry a little bit. So sometimes it's always a little bit of a good practice to add just a bit more of the paint that you have down here, especially if the colors are complementary. Right? So we're going to start, because we want it to go from a blue to a green to a yellow, right? We're going to grab just that little bit of green. Just that very little bit. We don't need a lot. It's a pretty overwhelming color. All right. You see how that just kind of meshes into the yellow a little bit? And we're going to do something a bit different here than we did at the red, because green and yellow are pretty even when it comes to the lightness of one another, right? Blue's pretty deep, red's pretty deep, but yellow, green, they're pretty loose. So what I want to do is, after I get that in there, I'm going to grab just a bit of yellow. You see that? A bit of yellow. Put it on both sides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right on top of that green, right, just to even it out slightly, just to make it a little bit lighter. I'm going to show you why in just a second, because we don't want such a harsh transition in there. But we got to do something with that yellow in just a moment. All right, but we're just want to even that out. All right, let's clean off that brush again. Clean off that brush. Okay, so when it comes to a color like this, when I want to even out a small area, not a big area, I'm just going to switch the brush. All right, so I'm going to put that one down for a second. I'm going to switch to a bit of a smaller brush, right? But I want to make sure that I get it a little bit wet, right? We don't want to go too dry on that, so I want to wet it a little bit. Now right here, I'm going to smooth out that transition a bit with just a pinch of white. Right, see that? Just a pinch of white, and that's going to help even that out a little. All right, see that? We've done this before. This is nothing new, right? We had a painting recently that we did a little bit of a sky, right? And we helped smooth the transition with a little bit of white, because it'll kind of bleed into that yellow a little bit, so it doesn't show as much of it. All right, when we got all this, we get this kind of lime color. That's what we want the transition between the yellow and our green to be. A little bit of a limey color. All right, so there, a little bit of a lime color. It's a transition, right? But you're gonna have to play around with it a little bit. Oh, there, I see it now. All right, see that? I see it forming now. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right, and let it just dance around back there. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. All right, I like where that's at. Okay. So let's pull that water off there, put it to the side for a second. Now, just like we did here, we're going to transition this down here at the bottom with a little bit of blue. All right, so just like we did before. Just like we did before. Pulling that blue up. But here, we want to leave ourselves a little bit of space in there, right? Something like that, right? We'll leave just a little bit of space in there. Because we're going to be pulling that green into that blue in just a second. Right, something like that. All right, now with this, I'm going to go back in here, again, with the white. Right in the middle here, I'm going to help smooth out that transition, because we want a nice light blue coming into that green. All right, so see how I get into the blue with that white, help transition it up. That's why we're leaving that space, because we're using the blue down below to pull that light blue into the green. Oh, it's pretty. It's quite pretty. I don't know why I'm singing. It doesn't matter. All right. And then when we do that, while we still got that color on there, we'll run into our green here. We'll make a nice aqua color. Nice little aqua color. Aqua color. How are you liking it so far? Looks good, right? I agree. And if you don't agree, what are you doing here, really? That's looking beautiful. So, pulling it down. Kind of play around back there. Whoop. There we go. All right, let's clean that off. Again, if you want, you could sort of pull that up a little bit. All right, maybe you want a little bit more green in there. You can always grab that green, help pull it through. All right, no pressure here. No pressure. We're just playing with these colors, no pressure. Smoothing it out, no pressure. And don't forget, clean off your brush. You know, if you're looking at something, you want to change it up a little bit. Here's how easy it is to change it, right? So once these colors start to dry, like we spoke before, they're good for layering on each other. So let's say maybe we want to pull the yellow down a little bit. You could take that, go right on top. I just gotta let it dry a second. Right, see that? Go right on top of it. Once it dries, it won't pull those colors together. Right, see that? Whoop. Oh man, I'm liking where we're at here. Okay. All right. I think we're good there. Now, let's start working. So now we've got our background, right? We're going to pull it forward. But if you've noticed, we're going to do some lips, but we don't want to do them across this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to flip it on its side, like this. Ooh. Now we're looking good. I like where we're at. Okay. Here's what I encourage you to do. Now I'm going to build this again with we'll call this our medium brush, right? We'll call this the large, the medium, and we've got our small, right? So we're going to build this with our medium brush. Now here's what I encourage you to do. I encourage you to outline the lips in white. I'm going to do it in black so it's a little bit easier to see for you on the canvas here, but I want you to outline them in black, or in white. So when you outline them, you can sort of go over it, because once you put black on this canvas, just straight black, you're at the point of no return, so we don't really want to do that. So if you put white on there, you're able to kind of go over it with the black, not have to worry about it too much, all right? But we're going to just section off these lips a little bit, okay? Now, so the way that the silhouette is going to work, we're going to sort of surround the lips so so it looks like the outer portion of the lips are bright rainbow and the inner portion of the lips are just straight black, but we kind of got to build it around. So we're going to start here, right? We're going to start with this part of the lip, that little top part there, right? And keep it kind of close together. So start somewhere in the middle, like that. See that? All right, and again, keep it close together. All right, now with the bottom part of the lip, it kind of follows the same groove, kind of like that. It's like a little smiley face. See that? All right, now with this, with that lip, so the lip technically comes up and then back down, okay? So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start on one side, come up, and then back down right into the middle there, like that. Same thing on the other side. Nothing, not changing anything up, come back, whoosh, just like that. Now the bottom part works just the same, right? So it kind of comes up. You kind of meet them somewhere over there. Just sort of meet them in there somewhere like that. Okay. Now with the top portion of the lip, here, this little spot at the top, it's got the same little dip, kind of cuts in a little bit, something like that. All right, and now same concept. We're gonna come up and then back down, something like that. Now I'm keeping these close together for the time being because I can expand it out a little bit later, right? But I wanna give myself a little bit of space here because this is going to be, this is technically gonna be the middle, so we're gonna cover all this in, right? See that? We'll cover all that in. Now with the bottom, what I want you to do is we want the bottom lip, sometimes bottom lips are usually a bit bigger, right? So we're gonna start first, let's kind of let's arch it up a little bit, right? So it's got that little bit of space down below. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring that up, kind of off the canvas a little bit. And on this side, same concept. Just like that. And we've got our lips. Super easy, right? Now, what I was talking about earlier is we're gonna pull this out. And the reason we wanted to just sort of shape out the lips is because we can kind of expand them or close them in a little bit later on. We just wanna sort of know where the shape is going to go. All right, now, what I do recommend is, I'm gonna fill it in here in just a second with my bigger brush, but what I want you to do first is outline where that lip is going to live, so it sort of closes in that little margin of error, okay? As I'm pulling it down this way, all right, see that? Pulling it through. This is very, very easy. All right, just outlining those sections. But be careful what you're doing, because a lot of times we can kind of get confused where these lines are supposed to live. So really pay attention when you're putting this part in on where you're actually applying that paint. We don't want to go on the wrong side and you got to start over. Be in Agony City there, we don't want that. All right, outline this one. This is gonna take a minute. I could speed it up. I'm not gonna, because this is a little learning thing. I want you to learn exactly what we're doing, right? See that? This is not for vanity. This is for teaching purposes, right? I want you to be able to do these things. I know I can already do them, and I don't need you to be able to see that, right? What I want for you guys is to be able to accomplish this, all right? So like I said, I'm gonna fill this in with my bigger brush. Just want to get these little outlines, these little angles here, so I don't have to worry about it. Just up here a little bit. All right, put that to the side for a second. There's a lot of paper towel today. These big brushes, these big mega brushes hold a lot of water, so you gotta make sure they're really dry. I mean, look at all these little spots that I've made. They hold a lot of water. Now, once you fill that in, you can kind of just go for it with your big brush. All right, because like I said, you've got that nice margin of error. Again, we don't want to waste any time. We've got a lot of, oh, look at that. That's all right. We're gonna forget about that for a second. We're not gonna worry about that. It's going a little too fast there. A little too fast. But we can, I'll show you a little trick. Make it so it's just a bit smaller, right? So we've got there's our lips down there, or up there, I mean. And here's our lips down here. Mind a lot of times you'll get caught by the easel. So if you're painting, feel free to kind of pick it up, lay right on the edge there. Like that. See that? Don't forget your middle. There's your lips. Pretty super easy, right? Okay. Now I could play around with that. You know what? Just so you can see. While this is still wet, what I'll do is I'll use my knife. So here, let me grab my knife. There we go. So if you want, just slightly pick it up. It'll take some of that off. Right? Not a big deal. Not a big deal. As long as it's still wet, we can kind of push it right in there. Feel free when you do that. So you might have a little bit of spot there, right? But give it a second, let it dry, and then you can kind of play around with it. We can fix anything, right? Like I've said before, in art, there is no such thing as good or bad, just finished and unfinished. Whenever you're working through, even if you do something that's indesirable. We're gonna go with undesirable. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Even if you do something like that, you could still fix it. It's not a big deal. Okay, now lips. We said these little grooves in there. So that's kind of how we're gonna build these little grooves. Let's just take our small brush, right? Down there. Take out a little small brush. And then we're going to take it and first we want to do little long ones, okay? So something like this, right? Like that, right? And what we want to do is we kind of want to follow the groove of our lip, right? We don't want to keep them straight. They're not spikes. Okay, so maybe there's some here. Okay, see that? Come through. I'm just going to play around with it a little. All right, and then make sure you even it out as you're building these. See that? Now remember, they're not spikes, so we want a bit of a groove. You know what? Sometimes you could do is sort of press a little harder and pull it off like this. You can see that? Again, like I said, even that out. It doesn't happen on the outside, right? It doesn't happen on your up here or on your chin. Right? So, for example, right? And then make them groove a little bit. And look at this. This is what I'm going to do. Cover that right up. Easy peasy. You don't even know it's there. Everything could be fixed. No worries. Right, see, I'm kind of coming at it as like a little groove, something like that. Let's pull this up a little. And again, evening it out. And don't forget this spot, right? So a little bit of the middle part, right? And we'll come up like this. Make those little itty bitty lines, and we're gonna do a few more in just a second, but we're gonna do some smaller ones, right? We just want to get our longer ones, but they want to be sharper at the edge because these lines, they're not teeth, right? They're not broad at the bottom, right? They're just lines, and they fade in, they fade out. Let's see that. We want to keep them as sporadic as possible. We don't want to overwhelm the painting with them. See it? See it? I'm a little loopy today. There we go. Keep this in the middle. Just kind of playing around with it. And again, while you're doing this, you want to take your time. You don't want to do. I assume the best way to put it is you want to enter these into the painting with purpose. You want to apply this paint with purpose every time. We don't want to leave those lines just kind of sitting there, right? While that paint's still wet, it's pretty adaptable to what you're doing, so it'll catch a lot of those brush strokes. We don't want to leave those brush strokes in there. Kind of sort of take away from the idea. You'll see them later on as it dries. So that. All up. I like that. Bam! Okay. So let's clean off our brush again. We're going to continue using this one. We're going to continue using black. But a lot of times with these synthetic brushes, there's that saying again a lot of times. With these synthetic brushes, what happens a lot is the brush, the more paint you put in, the brush will go from here to here. So it's always good practice to clean these synthetic brushes off 2 and every few steps. All right, so now we just want to enter in a few little ones, kind of like this, right? Just right there, because there's a lot of little breaks that happen in the lips. Lots of little breaks that happen. It's almost like grass, but remember, play around with it a little bit. What you want to do to make it a little bit easier on yourself is don't start on the edge. Start inside like this. All right, so you can catch those breaks right at the edge or the tip of those breaks. And then when you're done, you can clean it up. So that one breaks. See, I'm starting inside. That's what we want. Start inside. Keep those little breaks in there. Almost makes it seem like the lips are chapped. This person needs lipstick or chapstick instead of rainbow lipstick. Little itty bitty breaks. Crazy. I know I'm going fast, but again, this is for time purposes, so you take your time when you're doing these, right? Put them in, like I said before, put them in with purpose. Just little breaks in here. That's all it is, little breaks. Breaks in the lips. It's just these little in-betweens so it doesn't make these things, these lines seem like crazy long or sporadic, right? Maybe make a few a little bit longer. Right? See how it just sort of adds a little bit of pizzazz to the lips. A long one here, just a couple long ones. And a long one here and here. Right, cover up that little space that we dropped a little bit of that paint on. See how easy that was? Some of you were thinking, oh no! How's it going to cover that up? Like that. And a few longer ones. Perfect. Okay. All right. Now, let's give these lips a little bit of shine. Kind of need something in that respect. Kind of needs something, right? So this is going to be pretty simple here. We'll clean off that brush. What we're going to do is we're going to grab a little bit of white. Now, we're going to randomly put these in, but we want to put them into sections of the lips, right? Right? See how I'm not just putting lines in, I'm putting little clusters of lines. Little clusters of lines. All right? Let them move along, kind of like that. Okay. See that? Those move along like that, so it gives the impression that the lips are going whoop, whoop. It's a fun noise. Whoop, whoop. Do it. I'll wait. Go ahead, I'll wait. Perfect. Well done. All right. Oh, just black on there. Now, the trick here is, while you're in your white, if you're doing it as quickly as I am, sometimes that black will still be a little wet, so be careful. Sort of mine those black spots a little bit so you don't. I like that. Okay. Well, you know what? I kind of like it. I think we should leave it. What do you think? Fine, we're gonna leave it. All right, so that leaves our signature. I'm gonna sign it with this big one here. And with that, that's the end of the video. Again, I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a pretty simple one. There's nothing really too difficult about it. So thank you for joining me today and spending a few minutes of your day with me. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.